In the last round of the European Team Chess Championship, round 9, the very experienced Ilia Smirin, a grandmaster from Israel, was facing the very experienced Tiger Hillarp Person from Sweden, and both players are known for their aggressive attitude towards chess, at least. So they're very good attacking players, and in the game we are going to see that white is attacking, but black, however, could have resisted. So be prepared to learn some of the very fundamentals of attacking and defending. This being said, let's just go to the game. Smirin Ilia, playing the white pieces, starts the game with first e4, black plays c5, the Sicilian, knight to f3, and d6. And now white has plenty of moves, for example d4 and play an open Sicilian, while black can choose which variation or line he wants to play, the dragon, the knight off, the classical, etc. However, Smirin decided to play bishop to b5 check. And this is a little bit simplifying the position, but still the structures which might appear are very similar to what usually happens, but without the d4 move. And sometimes even with the d4 move. So bishop to d7 played. And a usual move here would be bishop takes d7, queen takes d7, and then, for example, c4, knight f6, knight c3, knight c6, and d4. And now white has a Marocci bind, but without the white squared bishop, which is usually on e2. This might be an advantage. This might be a drawback, depending if the bishop will become stronger eventually, or if the c pawn will become weaker, because the bishop on e2 would defend the c4 pawn. Let's go back. This wasn't played. There is another move here which scores pretty good, and this is the move c4. And the idea of white is pretty easy. He wants to put the pawns on white squares and then secure a space advantage. So if black for some reason took, then a position like this, I don't know, g6, and then castle, bishop g7, and white enjoys a space advantage on the queen side and might be a little bit better here. So therefore the black player Hillarp Person took a very long thought here, and probably this was the critical mistake of the game already. According to the clock, he spent 30 minutes. The clock might be wrong, but let's just assume it was right. Then from move 5, the black player has 30 minutes less, and this is a huge disadvantage, especially if considering how the game went. So e5 was played, one of the best moves here, if not the best move, but taking 30 minutes of time is very dangerous, especially on the fourth move. So bishop takes d7 played, and now knight takes d7 was played. It's important to mention that queen takes d7 is also possible and might be even a little bit more accurate and guarantee black a more balanced position. However, in the game knight takes d7 was played, and after knight takes d7, knight c3, and now knight to e7. And this position has occurred, it's not new. So d3 played, knight to c6, and now white played the very uncommon move. But considering the time situation, the move which was played by Smirin is very clever. A normal move like castling or a3 and then trying to push b4 somehow would be nice, but black would make his moves pretty fast because the solution of the issues would be very clear. Against a3 you just play a5, and black made one move is closer to the 40 moves where he gains another 30 minutes. So this had made the life of black maybe a little bit easier. Same with castling. This is not causing too much troubles for example, bishop e7 and one move already done. Black might be happy that he hadn't to think so much about this move. But let's go back. So which move did white play here? h4. And this is a very aggressive move, fits Smirin style, and also considering the timing situation. A very not so risky move, because black has less time and needs to figure out what he's doing. So bishop to e7 played, and now h5. Other moves like bishop to e3 were reasonable too, but white decides to play h5. Then followed a6, and white continued with the very aggressive g4. However, a move like h6 might have been a little bit more accurate, and then just playing without this g4 move for the time being. And then play the a3 rook b1 b4 idea here on this side. However, g4 played very risky by white, but again, considering the time situation, black has issues. He needs to defend correctly, and indeed black found a good way to defend. He plays rook to b8, white plays a4, trying to prevent b5, knight f8. And this is the right plan. The knight just goes to a better square because on d7 it is not very active. So knight to d5 played, and now knight to e6. The problem of the d7 knight has been solved, and black was able to do a few moves. However, this took black a lot of time again, and considering that he has already less than 30 minutes, if I'm not wrong, the position is very difficult to play. And now white starts to play strange moves. King to f1. Well, it is playable, but why not play something like bishop to d2 and maybe later king f1 if you really want to play it. But let's just say that we take this because of the time situation and accept it as an okay move. It's from an objective point of view, it is okay, but very risky. But again, considering the time situation, okay, might be justified. Trying to confuse black. And now black plays b6, a fine move. A move like b5 had probably lost due to a takes b5, a takes b5, c takes b5, rook takes b5, and now h6, weakening the king side, and then playing rook to a6. So white is playing on both wings and black is completely lost. Let's say queen to d7 to defend the attacked knight. So now it's defended. However, queen to a4 is a very dangerous move, and black is already struggling. Queen to b7, then just regroup the knight to c4, and black has a lot of weaknesses. Not a position black wants to achieve. But let's go back. The black player might have seen this, so he played b6, not b5, then followed bishop to d2. This bishop might go to c3 at some point, and we will see this later in the game. Queen to d7, and this is a little bit of a strange choice, because why move the queen? It's not doing much more on d7 than on d8. So a move like h6 had been reasonable too, or even better. So queen to d7, knight to e3, and this is very risky, because now black can castle, and after the move knight f5, black had the chance to just play the move h6, and now the question is how white wants to proceed here, because it seems that there is no reasonable follow-up. For example, a move like rook g1 doesn't work because of bishop to g5 and knight takes g5, pawn takes g5, the h pawn takes g5, and now black has a very solid position and might be already enjoying an advantage here, so not very pleasant for white. So let's go back. So what is the alternative? So maybe queen to c1, a little sneaky move, but knight to d4 might be unpleasant because it's taking out the dynamics, and after knight takes d4, c takes d4, this pawn might become a little bit weak with the queen being on the same file, b5 might be in the air, and actually white's king doesn't feel so great here, suddenly. And also this square might be a little bit weak. But let's go back. This was not played. So not h6 wasn't played, but rook to b7, which is still an okay move. And especially considering black's time, it's a good move. g5 played. And now it is the time for black to play a move like b5, play on the queen side. And this is generally a rule. If your opponent attacks you on a wing, try to counter him in the center. Stop him on the wing he's attacking, or counter on the other wing. And in this case, black can choose two options. Either play on the queen side with b5. b5. C takes b5, a takes b5, a takes b5, and rook takes b5, and black is very fine. This pawn is weak, this pawn is weak. Black is already enjoying an advantage here. And the other move, g6, stopping the pawns on the king's side. And what should white do? Black might have feared the move like knight to h6 check, but here the amazing king to h8 works, and white is not able to open up the h file on time. And again, black is better. If it was my position and I knew that I can choose between g6 and b5, I had probably chosen b5 because it looks a little bit safer and the pawn weaknesses become visible immediately. But in the game, knight c to d4 was played. A little bit inaccurate because now knight takes d4 works, and after knight takes d4, white could have taken on d4, and after c takes d4, the position might be between equal and slight advantage white, but there's nothing left of the counterplay of black, so no b5, or at least no b5 bringing any advantage. So let's go back. In the game, not knight takes d4 was played, because white might have feared that it might be too little and played queen to g4. And here, again, black has some moves like g6, which are working fine. A move like knight to h6 check doesn't win the queen because it's actually protected by the rook, so the king might just move to h8 and the position is fine. But it's very difficult to evaluate these positions, especially if you are in time trouble, just like black in this position. So instead, black took on f5, and this is not very accurate because now after e takes f5, black is somehow lacking the counterplay. In the game, black played d5, and you might remember that I said if your opponent attacks you on one wing, either stop him on that wing, counter on the other wing, or counter in the center. And central breaks are usually the most effective. However, here it's not working due to the fact that after c takes d5, queen takes d5, both pawn and rook are attacked, but now there's the very strong rook h3. The pawn is defended, the rook is safe, and it's on the h file, so white is still attacking. Now black should have played a very strange looking move, and this is f6. And it's not clear to me if the position after g6 is really just slightly worse for black or completely lost, because I wouldn't feel very happy about this endgame, especially with this pawn structure and this king. So if the queens are exchanged, black would always be forced to watch out for some bishop takes h6 ideas and might have difficulties activating the king if everything was exchanged but the bishops. So therefore, let's just go back. In the game, rook d8 was played, and now it's very late. So therefore, white just plays f6 himself, and of course, black is not capable of taking because white takes back with check, and the bishop is under attack, so the king has to move. And instead of taking immediately, which would be winning already, you can even check on g7 first, force the king to e8, and then take and claim that the queen might be better placed, because now it's also attacking the e5 pawn. Completely crushing for white. So therefore, black is forced to play bishop to f8, which he found. And now follows bishop to c3, attacking this pawn, which is still defended, but rook e1 is coming, and black has issues. So a move like rook e8 should be played here. However, queen to d7 was played, and this leaves this pawn unguarded for the moment, but also the queen is challenged, so exchange or not. And of course, if you're attacking, you don't want to exchange your most powerful piece of the attack, and this is very often the queen. So black faces the move queen to f3 by white, and it's very difficult to play this position. According to the engine, black should have gone for this crazy looking move, c4, after d takes c4, e4, trying to distract the queen, which is defending the rook on h3. But after queen to g2, white is fine here, enjoys an advantage, and is a healthy pawn up. Well, it's a double pawn, but white can always take on g7, and the position will be fine. So let's go back. G takes f6 was played instead, and this is even worse, because now after g takes f6, the h file is wide open, sorry, the g file, and also the h8 square might be not the best place for the king because of moves like queen to e4 or doubling on the g file. So bishop to h6 played, rook to e1, now the pawn is attacked a second time, defended 0 times, and black is struggling, king h8, but it's too late, rook takes e5, and now this rook is dominating the game. Rook b to b8 was played to defend the back rank. So here, rook e7 played, and now black played queen to d5 and resigned. He didn't wait for his opponent's move. Now it's your turn. Try to find the best move here for white. White here has 2 plans. He can either take the queen, which is completely winning and a solid answer if you have found this, or the nicer looking rook to e8 check. Now the king is in check, it cannot really move, and bishop to f8 also doesn't really work due to queen takes d5, rook takes d5, rook takes b8, and still the bishop is hanging. Not very nice, and king here on g8 doesn't work because of rook g3 check, and the king returns and it's mate. So this is not working. Bishop f8 is not working. And also other moves are basically not working because the rook is defending the queen. So taking back is also no option. So taking here, then taking back isn't possible. And black is completely lost. So therefore, queen to d5, and black lost the game or white won it. A very interesting game in my opinion, and as you can see, the play of white wasn't very correct from an objective point of view. From a practical point of view, it might have been very clever. First of all, the time situation, and second, the black player is also a player who loves to attack. As always, I hope you enjoyed the video and liked the game I presented and analyzed. If you did so, feel free to hit the like button and subscribe the channel. See you.